For a long time, the takeover and turnaround strategy and technology has emerged as the cutting edge for rapid growth of many business houses which have track records of quick growth have made use of this risky but attractive instrument. Many believe that the Midas touch of elite managers from successful houses can transform corporate sickness and decay into growth and prosperity. While most of the efforts have been built around infusion of fresh capital technology and restructuring and redeployment, the extent of success for depended on the ability to coax, compel, or modify the quality of human resources. I repeat this sentence. The success mainly depend upon the ability to coax, compel, or modify the quality of human resources. Modifying the quality of human resources in order to get success is a very important factor in takeover and turnaround strategy. Paradoxically, now things are being differently analyzed because of the failure of the several organizations in this implementation of this great word that turn around by with a Midas touch of great corporate houses because there are several failures. The failures, some of have more than fair share of honors in this arena. And when the demigods of corporate turnaround fail to repeat the music, that magic, they are promptly written off as shooting of this twilight zone of corporate world. Apparent paralysis or lack of responsiveness by large sections of the managerial cadre in sick organizations is a cause for such failures. This has to be analyzed. It is a necessity because there are several failures by great organizations which felt with this Midas touch of their ability of the manpower and capacity of human resources also failed. Why? This point let us analyze. This is in the context of helplessness. It is true that sick enterprises face problems such as inadequate working capital and obsolescence of technology, poor employee morale, and collapse of leadership. Collapse of leadership, it occupies a pivotal role. To the turnaround manager, these are tasks to be handled in striking contrast. Most of the workforce in a sick enterprise would be throwing up their hands in despair. Why does things, such behavior take place? Are these problems and constraints in sick enterprises so daunting and that nothing at all can be done? Does these issues emerge day after day from all our quarters? An honest analysis by management gurus or several eminent managers with so much of experience, they say that the response would be in the negative. Perhaps the helplessness we see in these executive systems and executives from real constraints but benefits and perceptions formed from the experience of their health of the organization gradually turning sick. In other words, the non performing executives are more likely to be the persons who have wrongly learned from the traumatic events that led to the decline and sickness of the organization. This is here my important analysis and my emphasis. I would like to communicate what is this wrongly learned or learning helplessness. How these people have learned helplessness and this wrongly learning that has to be unlearned. Unless these people unlearn, they cannot see that organization is successful. These traumatic events led to the decline and sickness of their organizations. To generalize, they are helpless even when there are opportunities to produce positive results. This is a psychological feature which is pervading in the organizations. In spite of the Midas touch of great corporate houses, they are not being revived. This process, through which such learning of helplessness takes place, has been extensively over the last 2 decades. Researchers have turned learned Researchers have termed it learned helplessness. Its origin can be traced to laboratory experiments by Martin Seligman and his associate in the late 60s. Even though this concept was neglected for a long time, now after 2024, this concept has been focused and being analyzed to deeply analyze the core failure of a takeover and turnover organization. Instead, the manager sat back winning quietly, taking the shocks as they came. In striking contrast, the naive managers were never subject to the helpless of shocks in the harnessing, always scrambled madly and learned to move away to avoid shocks. So this is the psychological feature, this is the psychological quality which made the managers not to come out of the trauma, not to take points, not to unlearn those things which have become traditions in that organization. The model of learned helplessness suggests that the weakness exhibited by executives would not stem from current problems and consistent constraints alone, as mentioned. The experience of not being able to avoid sickness earlier leaves a strong imprint in their minds. They did not unlearn that habit from the mind. They believe that the locus of their problems is beyond their control. Moreover, this experience is shared and reinforced by a group that remained with the enterprise during the decline alongside. They infect colleagues. I am repeating this word. They infect colleagues and subordinates with despair and indifference through their inaction. As a result, when they are offered opportunities in the course of turnaround efforts, but they did not absorb the things in a full manner and in a positive manner. These find it difficult to overcome the learning of helplessness. Unless they come out of this learning of helplessness, it is not possible to turn around the project which they have taken. The impact of turnaround. Efforts at turnaround are usually planned in consultations with key executives of the sick firm. Very often, extensive participation is ensured. Yet some of them who had participated in the planning exercise failed to live up to the expectations of initiative and changes in the style of operation, frustrating many chief executives. There was no process of change. That unless the operational style, operational philosophy, the style of operations is changed, this frustration cannot be plucked out from the organization as a whole, starting from CEO down to the level of a worker. This learned helpless model suggests that not being able to live up to expectations or commitment occurs because the minds of helpless executives would not have had to tune to be having in a positive manner. The returning of unlearning of helplessness does not take place till these executives experience success. Hence, we see that many of the successful turnaround efforts are those that have commenced with small firefighting operations by new chief executives without much aid from the managerial personnel. Success gives credibility in the new man and confidence to the managers to begin trying and to trust this style of a CEO or the manager who is in charge of this turnaround. So the main emphasis of my talk now in this context is that unlearn the habit of learning helplessness, that instinct, that psychic mind has to be eradicated, and that unlearning process only can save the managers. A variety of process can alleviate helplessness. The simplest but crudest method, usually adapted by hard nosed theory X type of managers in the deep stress approach. Here, the underperforming executives are deliberately subjected to intensive stress or threatened with severe punishment, which induce an emotional outburst that may either break the syndrome of the person. The risks involved make it a different and dangerous prescription, particularly because there are more balanced measures available. The key to solving this problem is to facilitate the process of unlearning helplessness. Unlearning the helplessness. The principles of learning referred to by several eminent people are applicable. Instead of the linear symptom led treatment adopted by line managers, turnaround managers need to concentrate on employing double loop learning systems. Through this process, it will be possible to restructure the mindset of the helplessness managers and get him take out of bring them to proactive stances. Definitely, this process, with recent experience in some organizations, as research is pointing out, the organizational development have highlighted the significance of this approach. This process will have to commence, as mentioned earlier, with highlighting the successful steps taken by the new team. The new team must be cohesive, it must be prepared, it must be equipped with the process and ammunition to avoid and eradicate this helplessness feeling and helplessness psyche. This may be followed with a sort of pre treatment of the residual management team with a series of tasks with growing levels of difficulty and responsibility. Experience of success will enable them to unlearn their previous failures. This is most important. The taste of success will definitely make them to unlearn the previous failures. This process of unlearning will be further facilitated by an environment of trust and hope and get post facto appointment of blame or past events. Undue haste is pushing members of the residual team. Although the problem of technology, capital, market, and all other things can be solved, but this problem of this unlearning helplessness has to be dealt psychologically, systematically by the senior management and with several mentors presenting in the organization. Definitely, this can be learned and the organization can be successful in making a turnaround success to these organizations which were collapsing and they can be made in the market most successful. Thank you very much.